After everything that had transpired, I held the check in my hand, a small piece of paper that represented a profound shift. It was for $500, a first installment on what Tyler owed me, with a note that simply said, "Not much, but it's a start." I had been prepared for anything from him, anger, denial, or more excuses. But I hadn't been prepared for this. This was an admission of responsibility, a tiny step toward accountability. It felt like an apology, but it was more than just words. It was an action. I showed the check and the note to Rachel. She read the note, a small, sad smile on her lips. "He's trying," she said quietly. "I know," I replied, the truth of it sinking in. For the first time, my younger brother was acting like an adult. He was facing the consequences of his actions and trying to make amends. He hadn't asked for forgiveness or money. He was simply trying to do the right thing. A part of me wanted to toss the check in the trash. To say that his $500 didn't make up for years of betrayal and a lifetime of favoritism. But another part, the one that wanted to finally put the past behind me, recognized this for what it was at the beginning. It was a sign that the boy my parents had created was finally starting to grow up. I still had no intention of letting him back into my life completely, at least not for a while. Our relationship had to be rebuilt from the ground up, on a foundation of mutual respect and accountability, not on the broken and toxic foundation that our parents had built for us. I looked at Rachel. Her calm composure, her unwavering support, had been a rock through it all. She had been a victim of my family's drama, yet she had never once wavered in her commitment to me. The scars from my mother's attack had healed, but the memory of her strength and resilience remained. "What do you want to do with it?" she asked, gesturing at the check. I thought for a moment. "We'll deposit it. It's a loan. After all, he needs to learn what it's like to pay back a debt." She smiled. "I like that. A lesson in financial responsibility from the guy who was lectured on it since he was 18. I knew that a single check and a few honest words didn't magically erase the past, but it did create a new path forward. I had my own life now, a beautiful wife, a new city, a rewarding career, and a dog who listened better than my family did. I had my own little family, built on a foundation of love and mutual respect. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. The next day, I deposited the check, a small gesture of acceptance and a step toward a future that was no longer burdened by the past. The money wasn't the point. It was the action behind it that mattered. It was a sign that perhaps, just maybe, my brother and I could one day move on, even if we never returned to the way we were, a new beginning. The check from Tyler was a small but significant gesture, a crack in the wall of a toxic family history. I deposited it, a silent acceptance of his attempt at reconciliation. It wasn't about the money, it was about the shift in his mindset, a sign that he was finally waking up from the fantasy land my parents had created for him. Life in Atlanta was everything Rachel and I had hoped for. We settled into a quiet suburb, our new home a sanctuary far from the drama we'd left behind. Our German Shepherd mix, Rocket, was a bundle of energy and love, filling our lives with a different kind of chaos. Rachel was thriving in her new role, and I was leading a team of brilliant architects. The peace was palpable, a stark contrast to the constant turmoil we had endured. The occasional emails from my parents were a reminder of the past, but the distance and firm boundaries I'd established kept them from encroaching on our new life. My father's monthly calls were a surprising source of comfort. He was genuinely trying to change, attending therapy, and finally acknowledging the enabling he had done. It was slow progress, but it was progress nonetheless. He was building his own spine, a feat I never thought possible. One evening, about a month after I'd received the check, Jenna called. "You're not going to believe this," she said, a hint of amusement in her voice. "Tyler's been promoted. He's a shift supervisor at the tech store." I was genuinely surprised. "That's great news. What's he like?" "He's still Tyler," she chuckled, "but he's different. He's paying his own bills, buying his own groceries. He even called me the other day to ask for my lasagna recipe." This was a new, responsible Tyler, a version of him I'd never met. It was an interesting development, and it made me wonder if genuine change was possible for someone who had been coddled their entire life. The unexpected apology. 6 months after we'd moved to Atlanta, an email arrived from my mother. It wasn't her usual passive-aggressive missive. It was short and to the point. "I need to talk to you and Rachel. Please call me." I showed Rachel the email. "What do you think?" I asked. "Be cautious, but I think you should call," she replied. Maybe she's finally ready to apologize. I made the call. It was a tense conversation. My mother's voice was subdued, a far cry from the shouting matches we'd grown accustomed to. She spoke about her new life, her job as a receptionist, and the humbling experience of having to work for a living after so many years. She talked about the social ostracization she and my father faced, and how it had forced them to confront their actions. We lost everything. Albert, she said, her voice cracking. The house, the club, our friends. It was all for Tyler. And for what? So he could be a receptionist at a tech store. He's a shift supervisor. Mom? I corrected her gently. Whatever he is, she continued. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry I let it happen. I'm sorry for all the years I put him first. But most of all, I'm sorry for what I did to Rachel. The apology was unexpected, but it felt genuine. I felt a knot of anger and resentment that I hadn't realized was still there begin to loosen. I don't know if I can ever forgive you, Mom, I said honestly, but I'm willing to try. You need to apologize to Rachel, though it has to come from you, she agreed. The next day, she called Rachel and offered a heartfelt, tearful apology for the assault. Rachel, with her characteristic grace, told her that she would eventually be able to forgive, but that it would take time. A Christmas homecoming. With the restraining order expired and the apologies made, we decided to risk a visit for Christmas. It was a calculated risk, but my father had been so persistent in his newfound therapy, and my mother's apology had felt so sincere that we wanted to give them a chance. We booked a flight for Christmas Eve, rocket included, and prepared for a tense but hopefully peaceful reunion. Jenna and her boyfriend picked us up from the airport. She was happy to see us, and Rocket immediately took to her, licking her face with slobbery enthusiasm. So, you ready for the great Christmas reunion? She asked, a smirk on her face. As ready as I'll ever be, I replied. We arrived at my parents' condo, a small, unassuming place in a neighborhood they used to look down on. The house was decorated simply a small Christmas tree in the corner and a few strands of lights hanging in the windows. It was a far cry from the lavish decorations of their former home. My father was the first to greet us, his face a mixture of relief and nervousness. He hugged me tightly, a genuine embrace that spoke of years of unspoken words. My mother was standing a few feet behind him, her eyes fixed on Rachel. Rachel, she said, her voice soft. Thank you for coming. Thank you for having us, Rachel replied politely. She kept her distance, but was friendly. The tension was still there, but it was a quiet, manageable kind of tension. Tyler arrived a few minutes later, looking thinner and more serious. He had a small gift bag in his hand. He greeted me with a nod and a handshake and then turned to Rachel. I hope you like this, he said, handing her the bag. It's the least I can do. Inside was a new pair of high-quality running shoes. The exact kind she had been wanting. He'd remembered a conversation they had a year and a half ago. It was a small but thoughtful gesture, a sign that he was paying attention, that he was trying. The evening was surprisingly peaceful. My father had cooked something he'd rarely done before, and the conversation was dominated by my new life in Atlanta, Rachel's career, and Jenna's upcoming promotion. We all avoided discussing the past, a silent agreement to let sleeping dogs lie. Tyler was quiet, but he listened, a stark contrast to the loud, attention-seeking man he used to be. I have to get back to work tomorrow, Tyler said, breaking the silence. Shift starts at 9 a.m. My mother looked surprised. But it's Christmas, she said. I need the money, he replied simply, and I'm saving up for a car. The statement was a small victory, a testament to his newfound independence. My mother's face fell slightly, but she didn't argue. She simply nodded. It was a quiet, satisfying moment. A new chapter. The holidays passed without incident. We returned to Atlanta feeling lighter, as if a great weight had been lifted. The family wasn't magically fixed, but we were on the path to healing. I was finally starting to believe that true forgiveness was possible, not just for them, but for myself. A few months later, I received a call from my father. His voice was filled with a nervous energy I hadn't heard before. Son, he said, I have something to tell you. Your mother and we're getting a divorce. The news hit me with a mix of shock and relief. It wasn't entirely unexpected. Their entire marriage had been a dance of enabling and codependency, with Tyler at the center. With that dynamic gone, what was left? Why? I asked, my mind racing. She's not ready to change, he said, his voice heavy with sadness. She still thinks she was right. And I can't live like that anymore. I'm finally putting myself first. The words resonated with me. I had done the same thing. I had finally put myself first, and it had led to a life filled with happiness and love. My father was finally finding his own way, and I was proud of him for it. The divorce was a messy affair. My mother, who had been so contrite, became bitter and resentful. She blamed me for the end of her marriage, but her words no longer had the power to hurt me. I was 600 miles away, living a life she couldn't touch. Tyler, surprisingly, took my father's side. He had seen his mother's true colors and was not going to fall for her manipulation anymore. He had his own life now, a job, and the satisfaction of earning his own money. He was a shift supervisor at a tech store, and he was proud of it. Life went on. My parents' divorce was finalized. My father moved into a small apartment of his own, and my mother remained in the condo. Tyler, with his newfound maturity, was helping him find furniture and get settled. One night, a year after the lawsuit had been settled, Rachel and I were sitting on our back porch, enjoying a quiet evening. Rocket was curled at our feet, his tail thumping softly against the wood. My phone buzzed with a message. It was from Tyler. I just wanted to thank you. It read, "You were right about everything." It took a while for me to see it, but I do now. You helped me grow up. I smiled. It was a small message, but it meant more than any check or apology. I had my own life now, a life of peace, happiness, and love. I had a wonderful wife, a fantastic dog, and a family that, while still a work in progress, was finally on the right path. I had left the past behind, but I hadn't forgotten the lessons it had taught me. I had survived the chaos and emerged on the other side, a better, stronger man. I put my phone away and leaned my head on Rachel's shoulder. The future was unwritten, but for the first time in a long time, I was excited to see what it held. We had a new life, a new family, and a new beginning. I looked at Rocket, and he gave me a happy little snort. A perfect end to a perfect day.